Hello there and welcome back to the channel. Today we are meeting with a real estate agent here in Chiang Mai, and what we're going to do is we're going to ask her all of the questions we had when we first moved to Thailand on how to rent things, how things work, security deposits, what's usually included, and all that good stuff. So we're going to sit today with Alice and ask her these questions, and hopefully this will help you.
Hey Alice,
Hey, Condo.
since we've been in Chiang Mai a little while, I'm sure that other people, have questions kind of like we did. So
Right.
I thought of if maybe we could talk about some things to help others that are getting ready to move here.
Okay, sure. That's a good idea.
Okay, awesome. Well, the first thing, what things, when you come from a Western country, you have typical things in a home. What things, though, when you're looking in Thailand, would you maybe not have that you might have, say, in the U.S. or somewhere else like Europe?
Okay. Well, quite a few things actually. So first thing I can think of is an oven. It's not so common here. I mean, it's becoming more common now, but a lot of houses won't have an oven, for example.
Right.
Yeah. We often have customers asking for ovens too, but sometimes they have it and they don't use it because it's so hot in Thailand.
I understand that.
But it's nice to have. Yeah.
Right.
Also, hot water heating is a bit different than Western countries.
Okay.
So we have like individual hot water heaters normally in different rooms. So you have one in the bathroom, for example. Yeah, and usually you won't get hot water in the kitchen.
Right.
Yeah, unless you go rent a home from a Westerner, for example, someone from America or from Europe, because they always like to have hot water.
Yeah.
So they might install hot water heater in the kitchen for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's also not very common. Dishwashers are not common here either.
Right.
Yeah.
What about like washing machines and dryers?
Washing machines, most houses will have washing machines, but dryers usually no. But now they're becoming more common actually.
Okay.
So very handy in
Yes.
rainy season.
Yeah, we ended up buying a dryer.
Yeah.
It's very nice to
Yeah.
have.
And also not very expensive now
No,
too.
it wasn't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's good to have when you move somewhere you can take it with you.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, what else is there?
Well, now I know in the U.S. most houses have garages,
Oh,
but
yeah,
here
garages.
I don't really see garages.
No, we have carports usually.
Right.
Yeah. But the people call them a garage, but yeah, they're carports.
They're covered at the top, but not all the way around with the door on them.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else you can think of that of people saying, "Hey, do you have this in a home?" And maybe
But the
wouldn't-
kitchen is usually pretty different. Normally you have a lot of houses here are like what we call Thai kitchens. So Thai kitchens can be inside or outside, but mostly they're just a counter space
Okay.
and some cupboards, but not a lot of shelves or a lot of storage space.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically, when Thai people cook, we just put everything on the counter,
I see.
basically. So, but yeah, probably a lot of people feel that there's not enough storage space because in a Western kitchen you have lots of cabinets and shelves where you can put things away.
Right, like
Yeah.
the plates and the pots and pans
Yeah,
and everything.
exactly. Yeah,
Right.
but a lot of houses do have Western kitchens, so yeah, just have a look for those ones.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, cool. So when you're going to rent like a condo or a house, what's the typical security deposit and how does that work when you get ready to sign the lease and say, I want to rent here? How does all that work?
Well, normally you put down 2 months deposit and 1 month rent in advance to rent a house.
So when you're ready to rent, you really need to have 3 months ready to go at that point when you're signing the
Yeah,
lease.
that's right. And the security deposit you get back at the end of the contract.
Okay.
Anyway, of course, if you didn't do any damage.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
to the house.
Now, would they have to? I know in the U.S. they would have to itemize what the damage was. Do they do that here, or do they just kind of like, oh well, you're only getting half of it back, but don't really tell you why?
A bit of both.
Okay.
Yeah, but usually things can be talked over anyway. Yeah, we haven't had really many issues regarding returning deposits. So basically at the end of the contract, and then we just go to the house and check everything. If everything is in order and all the bills are paid, then usually within 30 days or even before, then you get the money back.
About
Yeah.
30 days. Okay.
Yeah. But
Okay.
if there's any deductions, the owner will tell you, how much and what are they deducting it for.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what kind of lease terms are usually available when you're going to rent? Is it you know, can you pretty much pick how long you want to rent it for, or is there like a standard rental term?
Normally it's like 6 to 12 months.
Okay.
For houses and condos, sometimes you can ask for less, but you have to like talk to the owner and see if they're willing to do that.
Now, do they usually charge more if you want, like say if you do a year lease, you might get this price, but if you only want 6 months, it's going to be a little bit more expensive?
Yeah. Usually the prices on the websites are for one year contracts. Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, sometimes they might give you the same price for 6 months, sometimes not. So it depends on negotiations.
Okay.
Really, yeah. Okay. But usually it's a bit more.
I see. Yeah. That makes sense. Now, when you're renting a house, or it could go on a condo, do they normally come furnished, or is that kind of the exception to have it a fully furnished house or condo?
Well, most of the time they're furnished.
Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes partly furnished. Yeah. It's very rare to get an unfurnished house, actually.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Because for most of the houses that we rent are only about 2 foreigners. So most of the time when they come to Chiang Mai or Thailand, they don't bring the furniture with them.
Right. Like so us, you just have a couple of bags and that's it.
Yeah. But sometimes if there are people who've been living here for a long time, they accumulate things. So sometimes they think, oh, I already have this, I already have that, and they'll ask if the owner can take some things out of the house. Yeah.
Okay. So the norm is to be fully furnished, and then anything from there can be negotiated, I guess, to take things out. Or...
Or sometimes it's not partly furnished, but you can always ask for more furniture.
I see.
That's possible as well. Yeah.
Now, I know that in a lot of areas of Chiang Mai, they have what's called mubans, which are similar, like in the U.S., we would call them subdivisions. Now, what are some of the pros and cons of living in a muban subdivision versus just living, you know, like around here right off a street? What's some of the pros and cons?
Yeah, in a muban, you usually have security. Okay. But not all mubans have security, but most of the time they do.
So like a gate you go up to and you have to show that you live there, or so I'm visiting so-and-so.
Yeah, gated community. So they're good in the sense of you have added security. I mean, Chiang Mai is generally safe anyway. Yeah. But sometimes, like, we've had customers who are like families, and the husband might work overseas and the wife and the children would stay home by themselves a lot of the time. So a lot of times they prefer to live in a muban with security, so the husband won't have to worry too much. True. Yeah, and usually security guards are very helpful. Sometimes if you need extra help, or if you have a snake in the garden, can call them and they'll come and help you.
Well, that's good. Yeah, I would want to have to deal with the snake myself.
Yeah, or scorpions maybe.
Oh yeah, and we do have some of those.
Yeah, so so they're helpful. Like sometimes, like where I live, we didn't have a carport at the time, and when we hang out our clothes outside, and sometimes it's about to rain, we call the security and they'll put it inside for us.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, or sometimes people ask them to go buy milk and things like that to pay bills for them. I mean, that's a bit, extra, and probably need to give a bit of tip for that. Yeah. But I mean, if you need something help at night, for example, the security, so they can usually help you.
That's really nice.
Yeah, which is really good. And often mubans have facilities like pool and gym.
Okay.
So you don't have to go out, far to those places. And it's good for children too, because they'll have like friends, a lot of neighbors, where children can play around with other friends and neighbors, go to the pool and things like that, ride their bikes after school. Because the roads are, in the muban would be safer than out on the regular street.
Right.
Yeah, not so many cars.
And also, I know out on the regular streets, like around where we live, there's a lot of soy dogs, which means street dogs. Now, in the mubans, do they not have the street dogs?
Generally, no. But I mean, I think some probably do, but most of the time, no.
No.
And a lot of times they have rules as well. So you have to, when you take your dog for a walk, you need to have them on a leash, for example.
Good. That's really good.
Yeah. So that's why I kind of chose to live in a muban when I first came, because I did have a dog as well.
Yeah, we have 2 dogs, and my one little dog doesn't like walking on the streets now because of the soy dog. She gets scared.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to pick it up.
Right.
So it's probably, if you have a dog, it's probably easier to live in a muban if you want to take them out for a walk.
Yes,
yeah. Cons would be, I guess, if you live in a muban with facilities, then there'll be charges involved with that. So there'll be like you have move-on fees.
Okay.
So a lot of times it's included in the rent, but other times it may be not. So it's best to talk to the agent and the landlord just to make sure what's
Okay.
included and what's not.
That's a good idea
Yeah.
to know what's covered in your lease. And,
Yeah.
and going along with that, okay, so you have your rent every month. What are some other expenses that you might have related to your home that you would need to know about, that you need to see if your landlord's covering it or not? What kinds of things would those
Most
be?
of the time, like, of course, utilities, water, electricity is not included. You pay that
Okay.
yourselves. And also internet.
Internet.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you want to have extra TV subscription, for example.
Okay.
But most of the time now with internet services, it does include TV, certain amount of TV programs, usage kind of thing. So whatever it's called. Yeah.
And also
Yeah.
paying like the electric and water bill. I know I found that 7-Eleven comes in handy for that because I can just take my bills there the next day after I get them and pay them.
Yep.
So we've kind of learned to
With
do
that too, because if you pay by the due date, yes, you can pay at 7-Eleven, but after the due date, you need to take it to the water company or the electric company
Oh, okay.
to pay.
Before they shut off your power or water.
Yes. But it's pretty convenient, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
I think they charge 10 baht or something, which is
Yeah.
less than, like 30 cents, less than that just to process it. So you can go in there and get your milk and bread and pay your utilities.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else?
What else?
Are pets normally allowed in houses or condos, or how does it work if you have let's say a dog or a cat?
Okay. Most of the condos don't allow pets. It's a
Okay.
management decision usually.
Okay.
And yeah. I know of 2 condos at the moment that do allow pets. That's Peak Avenue and also Ringping Condominium. But then you still need to check with your landlord whether they allow pets in their particular unit or not. With houses, most of the time people don't advertise that they allow pets, but you can always ask.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
A
So
lot
if
of the time they're pretty flexible.
I'm looking
Yeah.
at a listing and it doesn't say, that means I can always inquire. But if I look at a listing and it says no pets allowed, then I know they don't want dogs or cats there. Okay.
I mean, if you really like the house, you could try. Can show a picture of how cute your dog is. And they might change their mind because sometimes landlords do have some bad experiences with pets in the past, so that's why they say no pets.
I bet. Yeah.
So it might depend on the actual situation as well.
If they got to
Yeah.
meet your pet and then they say,
Yeah.
oh, well, that,
But there are also other houses that do enough houses that allow pets, so
That's
that
good.
shouldn't be a problem. Yeah, just tell your agent, beforehand.
okay.
Yeah, and they can check for you.
Nice. Now, I do have a question. I know in the U.S., if you're in a lease on a house or an apartment, if something breaks down, let's say the air conditioner goes out, you call your landlord and they fix it for you. Now, how does that work here in Thailand? If I'm renting a condo or a house, who's responsible if something is not working? Let's say the stove goes out, the AC goes out, you have a water leak, that kind of thing.
Okay. Depends on the situation. Most of the times, electronics, like of course appliances like aircon, if it breaks down or the stove breaks down, then the owner is responsible for that, unless you break it, and then you have to pay for that. Yeah.
If it's a wear and tear issue or something like that, they would cover
With
it.
air conditioning, usually with the cleaning of the aircon, usually if the owner does it in the beginning before you move in, then is expected that you would keep it, have it cleaned every 6 months or 12 months.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's about 500 or 600 baht each
Okay.
time. Yeah.
To hire somebody to come out and clean the
it properly.
units.
Yeah, that's probably better for you as well because if it's clean, then it probably blows out clean air and probably better for your electricity bill.
True.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, but for some small repairs, usually the tenant takes care of that, like like bulbs and small
Right.
water leaks. But
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, in the U.S., I guess we
Yeah.
would, fix the bulbs and change the filters and stuff like that.
Yeah, things like that.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Are rental prices negotiable? Like if I see a rental price of something, is that the fixed price, or is there any room for negotiation if I'm going to do like a year lease, or say, oh, I would be willing to do a 2-year lease for something.
Yeah. Of course, everything is negotiable. You can always make an offer and see if the owner will accept it. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so
or
that's
can
not
talk
out of
maybe
the
somewhere in between. Yeah, everybody negotiates. So
Okay.
that's normal.
That's good to know.
Yeah. Sometimes if you pay a whole year in advance, for example, you can probably get a bigger discount. It depends on
I see.
your situation. Yeah.
Okay. Can you give an explanation of the pros and cons of living in some of the different areas of Chiang Mai? Because Chiang Mai is broken up to, like the old city is here, and then you have areas to the north and south. And are there any particular pros and cons? Like, say somebody's coming in with family, they have children. Is there one area that'd be better for them, or maybe a retired couple would, as a general?
Okay, for families with children or retired couple, I would probably say maybe in the suburbs might be better, like maybe in different, like for example, Samsai or Hang Dong, out of the city, because in the city it can get quite congested and traffic can be a bit bad. Although it's not as bad as Bangkok, of course, but but you think it's not that bad here. But if you've been living here for a while, then you think, oh, it's pretty bad in the city.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Also. It's kind of more densely populated in the city too, I suppose. Yeah, and there's not a lot of good houses around the city and in like Niman area, for example. So those areas, most people live in condos.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you live outside the city, you have more space, public garden space, or if you live in Muban, there's facilities.
And it'd be easier to have a car, to park your car and have room to do that, and your motorbike and all that stuff to have it in
exactly,
your
because
driveway.
As you know, in Chiang Mai, you do need to have some kind of transport.
You do,
yeah.
Especially for rainy season. It's good to have a car.
Yeah, I mean, you can get by without one if you get Grab, but I guess it can add up.
Yes.
I guess, yeah. For a lot of say digital nomads, for example, or for people living by themselves, a lot of the time people like to live in the city. For example, in Niman area, which is kind of in the middle of like the pubs, bars, and restaurants, which can be attractive for a lot of people.
I could see that. Yeah, we've enjoyed our time in Niman, and a lot of good restaurants and all kinds of things.
Yeah, so you can just go for a drink and go walk home, for example.
Home. Right.
But you have to keep in mind that it can get quite noisy because with the music from the bars, for example. So so if you don't mind that, then that's fine.
Even though right now most things are closed, they're going to start opening up back
exactly.
up soon, so it'll get noisy again.
Yeah. So if you want to live kind of close to the city, maybe in a condo, but not right in Niman, there's other areas like Santitam or Jet Yacht, which is north of the Hoi Keo Road, so it's quieter, and also kind of to the west around the convention center. So it's very close to nature, and it's probably about 5-10 minutes drive to Niman, so by bike. So
now most of like the international schools, are they kind of spread out throughout Chiang Mai? Or are they mostly in the south, like in the Hang Dong area?
Okay, it's spread out, but there's a lot in Hang Dong actually. So if your children will be going to international schools in Hang Dong, then Hang Dong is a good place.
Which that's south of the city, so
to stay. Yeah. It's very convenient there as well. There's a lot of shopping centers there, and a lot of restaurants too.
Right.
So, but actually, it's very convenient everywhere.
Yeah,
don't you think?
I've kind of found that there's good restaurants anywhere you go.
And there's markets everywhere.
There's markets everywhere.
So you won't go hungry living in Chiang Mai.
No, and it seems like there's foreigners that live pretty much everywhere, even in our little area that we live in. On our street, I think there's three different foreigners that live there. So it's
in
not,
your street, okay.
Yeah, on our street. So you just never know. I mean, you're going to have Thais all around, but you're going to have some foreigners sprinkled in throughout. It's kind of fun to find out everything about each other and the local customs and other people's, like people from Europe or Australia or China or wherever they're from.
Actually, your area is quite nice in a sense that if you wanted to find out more about the Thai culture, I suppose, because you're in amongst the Thai village. So you see a lot of people when they first come to Thailand, they like to have experience.
Yeah,
they have to experience that. Yeah,
right. Because a lot of the restaurants in our little area are only Thai only on the menus. So we look at the pictures and then we kind of know what some of the words are. So.
That's a good way to learn Thai, isn't it?
It is.
And it's cheaper as well.
Yes, definitely. And eating the Thai food is much cheaper and it's delicious. So we can get meals for 40 baht a piece, which is around a little bit over $1.
Yeah. So if you go to a restaurant, it might cost a nice restaurant might cost you 100 or 200, I suppose. But it's about 40, 50 baht in a local place.
Right, but if you're going for Western type food, you can go up to 400, 500, 600 baht for the two, Tony and I easily.
Yeah. Well, there's a variety, so you can pay a little or pay a lot.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it goes to all ends of the spectrum.
Yeah. Any other questions? Do you think?
I can't think of any. Can you think of anything I'm missing that people might want to know if they're getting ready to relocate to Thailand, specifically like Chiang Mai area?
Can't really think of any, but I suppose if anybody thinks of something, they can put in the comment.
Yeah,
and then
please
we can
do.
another video.
If you have any questions for Alice, we will post links of how to get in touch with her. She's awesome. She'll help you find exactly what you're looking for, and she'll help you negotiate. She'll drive you around. I mean, she's amazing, and she speaks awesome English, and she also speaks Thai and some other languages, I'm sure. But yeah, I think that's all for today.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. But yeah, like I said, leave us a question, and we'll get with Alice, or you can ask her. And thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us. สวัสดีค่ะ